Hi friends, just a quick introduction as I show you how we put together our little hoop house. I showed it on my garden tour yesterday, but I wanted to kind of give you a heads up on exactly why it is the way it is, how we put it together and all that good stuff. Anyway, I will show it to you back there. It now has the romantic organza shade cloth on it, and I'll talk about that too. But it's all put together and it's working beautifully. So let's go take a look. All right, you guys, the other day on my garden tour, at the very end, I showed this garden bed, but without all the cloth on the top of it and the structure that we've got going on here. It's a very interesting structure. I have heard it called a chenille, French chenille caterpillar, as opposed to just a plain caterpillar. Chenille actually means caterpillar in French, so I'm not sure. But I got this idea from a video that was posted several years ago on the Right to Thrive channel. She's a Colorado gardener as well. She's down in the Colorado Springs area. I haven't seen anything from them recently though, so I don't know if they're still active, but their page is still up and there's some good information there. Anyway, so this is a hoop house, and we have added, I don't know if you can see this, the fabric on the top is under tension, and then these interesting laces that go across. I don't know if you can see those. Little bit of a comment on my supplies. Rather than go out and spend a ton of money on some new landscape shade cloth, I went ahead and went on a clearance for a wedding fabric company and got probably 40 yards of this brown organza for like $7. So that's why we're using organza this year. It's a much cheaper alternative. This is actually 2 layers of fabric. So if you wanted a more sheer coverage on something, you could just use 1, or if you wanted more coverage, you could use 3 layers, whatever you want to do. But I put 2 layers on because I don't really want to block the sun or the rain completely from this bed. These are my strawberries. And again, like I mentioned in the garden tour, I wouldn't normally be planting strawberries at the height of the summer in August. But the source that I got them from online sends them out for fall planting. Normally 5B, which is our zone, is cooler by this time of year, but the sun and the heat are still here in Colorado. So I wanted to protect these guys, but I also wanted to get them into the ground. They are bare root strawberries. And they come with, I showed a picture, but they come with a little, a little crown and a lot of root. And so you bury your roots, make sure the crown is at the surface of the soil. I want to see if I can get up close to one here. Make sure the crown is up at the surface of the soil. And then they're supposed to grow, which these are actually doing. They've greened up a little bit. They've been in the ground for exactly 2 days. They got planted Monday morning, and it's now Wednesday. But I've got 24 or 25 plants in this bed, and hopefully all of them will make it. But we wanted to give them the best chance possible, so I built a hoop house on this bed. Strawberries will live and produce for 2 to 3 years, and they will reproduce themselves by putting out runners, though these, the overbearing varieties like Albion, which are the ones I have here, won't produce much fruit on the runners. So they'll also grow new crowns, and so the crowns that come off of the main part of the plant are what you want to use to propagate. Just a little bit of information for you. Anyway, what we have here, we have a sturdy hoop. There is a rebar put down into the bed. It's actually a 3-foot rebar. It's an 18-inch bed. It went in, sticks up about this far. And then we put this is irrigation piping. It's flexible, but it's also very sturdy. And it should hold up for a while. It will break down eventually under the UV, but not so much that I'm going to worry too terribly much about it getting into my dirt and stuff. So flexible tubing over the top, slips over, let me see if I can do this, slips over the rebar. I'm not going to pull that out because it's going to undo my threads. And then it's got a crossbar on here, as I showed before. And then what you do is you get your fabric, measure it out however far. Now, this fabric is mounted into the ground here. using a tent stake. And it's a rebar tent stake with a hook on the end. It's like a J hook. I'm not going to take it apart, mostly because it's muddy from the rain last night and I don't want to get my hands all dirty and work the camera. So anyway, there's a J hook there, which is pounded into the ground at an angle. So at an angle this way, so it goes under the bed. It is loose, it can be moved, but it's a total of 12 inches long, so it goes under there pretty far, and I can come out and adjust it as needed when I need to. The organza then is put over the top. Okay, same setup on the other end. And then I twisted it because obviously if you just throw it over the top, it's flopping in the wind and blah, blah, blah. So I twist the organza, or the fabric that you're using. Could be bird netting, could be frost cloth, could be the like a greenhouse plastic. Whatever you're going to put on this thing, twist it to provide tension on the sides, because the whole secret to this little puppy is the tension. So you've got hoop tension pointing up, and then these laces which go across, and they are affixed to each of the hoops. Let's get in here close. I tied them around the rebar and then slid the hoop down under them, which put them under a little more tension. Anyway, that laces across to the other side, does the same thing, and then back to the end over here. Same thing going the other direction. Okay, so we've got an X on the top, and then it's attached to each one of these hoops. All right, what this does for you, and you can see that this is up right now to give my plants some airflow and some circulation of air around them, and give them a little more sun. If it gets too hot today, or if we get hail, I can just slide this puppy down. Sorry, I'm so close to it, but I don't have a tripod right now to show this. Just slide this puppy down and it gives a little more protection, okay? The tension on the cording will keep the fabric in whatever position you place it in, okay? So that is what makes it a little different than just your standard hoop house, is that lacing. All right, so I'm gonna go into some pictures and some short videos that we took when we put this thing together, and so you can see the steps involved, okay? All right, so we have the rebar in each corner and in the middle. Using the formula just shown, geometry, we determined that our pipes should be approximately 70 inches long to get the height of the circle that we want. And then the pipe just slides right over those pieces of rebar. It actually works really well, and they're fairly sturdy. All right, we are going to use a cross piece across the top, because when I get the fabric over the top, the shade cloth, before we plant the strawberries in it and everything, it'll have a little bit of a side load because of the tension on the fabric. So we want to be able to support those in an upright position, but they're pretty sturdy all by themselves. And if you were just to place fabric over the top, or the plastic sheeting for freeze cloth, they would support it just fine. But because of the structure of the caterpillar tunnel that we're doing, we're going to add a little bit of an extra tension on there. All right, here we are adding the cross piece, as mentioned before, that's going to provide some stability to these hoops, and help counteract the tension of the fabric that's going to be attached to the top of it. And again, I'll go into that a little further, but he's got the cross piece, which has a rigid bit through the middle of it, and he is using zip ties to attach on either end and then in the center. Now the center hoop is a little bit lower, and that's why we've done the kind of over-under thing here. Plus it'll create just a little bit more strength that way too. But that will create, again, the upward tension and stability that we'll need for our caterpillar house.